going to roll here. The number one complaint, the number one thing coaches face is the lack of clients. It's universal, it's ubiquitous, it is the problem. All right? There are no other problems. Now, if you're a psychotherapist like Lynn Healy, you may not have that issue, right? You put up your shingle, people Google, they find a psychotherapist, they go, when people are hiring coaches, they're looking for a coach to do a specific thing. And doctors will refer clients to psychotherapists. Doctors don't normally refer clients to coaches. Don't know why, but it's just the way it is. All right. So as coaches, the number one thing that we all want is clients. We all want clients. And there's all sorts of guys out on the internet, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok, telling you how you're going to attract your clients. All right. At the end of the day, when you start working with them, they are going to, the number one thing they're going to get you to do if you're successful is what we're going to cover here tonight. It's what we're going to cover here tonight. The number one issue, as I see it, and I'll tell you straight up, if Tara was on the call right now, we'd be arguing, right? We do this all the time. But I've been in business since 1984 and she hasn't. She's never started a business. She's never run a business. She's a coach who happens to have a coaching business husband, partner, whatever you call me. And when I left the military in 1984, I needed a job. Now, I was a military officer, and military officers plan. We plan. Everything's done with a plan. If you're going to take 3 people out to coffee, somebody writes a plan and they brief the other 2 people. Right? It's just the way the military works. You have senior plans, intermediate plans, junior plans. They plan and plan and plan. They plan every year. It's a planning circus. And we're taught to plan right from basic training, especially the officer corps. And when we plan, I was a pilot. So pilots even plan more. You plan every flight you do. And I flew helicopters, low level, in formation with 3, 7, or 11 other helicopters without a plan to know where we were going, when we had to be there, who we were taking, what the environment was, where we were starting from, the path we were going to take, and any possible contingencies. Every one of those missions would come off the rail every time. So when I left the military at 29 years old, I was a planning demon. I could plan and plan and plan. The funny thing is, when I left the military, I didn't have a plan. I just left. I didn't know what I was going to work as. I didn't know where I was going to work. I just left. So fast forward, we moved to Western Canada, and across the cul-de-sac from us is a retired entrepreneur. Now, in 1984, I didn't know many entrepreneurs, right? It wasn't a word that people threw around. And this guy was cool. This guy was super cool. I was 29, he was 34. He was already worth several $1 million in 1984. So he and I became friends. And one day he came over to the house, and I was working on a big gray box. Well, not a really big gray box, about a gray box about that big. It had a screen about this big. And he said, "What's that?" And I said, "It's a computer." 1984, guys, stay with the program. 1984. Not only was it a computer, it was a Macintosh computer. And I remember it because I bought that Macintosh computer with its printer and some paper for $4,000 in 1984. But guess what? You know how many people had computers in 1984? Almost nobody. And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm learning to build spreadsheets in the predecessor of Excel, which was called Multiplan." He sat down beside me. He said, "Can you do this and do this and do this?" I said, "Well, I think so. I'm learning, but let's try." I said, what do you do? He said, well, I am an investor. I invest in corporations. I never met an investor, never met a private person who invested in corporations. And he said, would you be willing to create a partnership with me? I said, okay. Of course, I didn't have a plan, right? He said, because every business person, in fact, he was a venture capitalist, and nobody used that word in 1984. He said, the business plans I seek are normally written on napkins. And I meet the budding entrepreneur in a restaurant, and he scribbles out his business plan on a napkin, and he wants me to invest my hard-earned money. He said, so I have to send them to an accountant, or back then in Canada, it was called the Business Development Corporation, to have a business plan written, because I will not invest in a company until they have a business plan. He said, and you've got this thing in front of us, this box that seems to be able to do everything I need to do. So if I taught you how to write a business plan, would you be willing to write business plans for these prospective companies that I'm going to invest in? They'll pay you. And I said, yeah, of course. And I wrote 38 business plans that year, 1984. Spreadsheets. I got a black belt in spreadsheets in Excel, up to the point where I wrote a business plan for a water slide park in the Canary Islands, and we presented it in England in 3 currencies, US dollars, British pounds, and I forget which was the other one, 3 currencies, all in one business plan. I was 29 years old in 1984. Fast forward to 2004. 2004, I decided to do a master's degree. After 9/11 happened, 9/11 rocked my world. I went into the humanitarian field, and I ended up in Baghdad in 2004. And I was hired to write the strategic plan for the Iraq National Mine Action Authority, the agency charged with clearing up all the landmines and the unexploded ordnance in Iraq. Tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars. I wrote that document. It was called Vision 2020. It was 2004. And the executive director of the Iraq National Mine Action Authority and his subordinates presented that at the UN headquarters in Nairobi that year. So I've been writing business plans for a long time. I tell you that because most people don't know it. And so what I'm about to tell you is not, oh, fluffy shit that Alan made up this afternoon at 2:30. Actually, 2:45, I made it up. It's stuff I've been doing a long time. And my mentor, that guy in 1984, Pat, he taught me more about business, the nuances of business, the underbelly of business, than you could learn in 5 MBAs. All right. So here we are today, and I coach coaches on how to coach in NLP. And you know what? I came through the Tad James School of Learning to Coach, and they tell everybody you can be a great coach. They tell it, the sales pitch. I don't care if it's Matt James, Tad James, Steve Andreas NLP. They all say the same thing. Study NLP. You can be a coach. But they forget to tell the people in the room, you're in a business. You're a business person, and you need clients. How many people know how many startups fail globally every year? What percentage of startups fail? Anybody? Throw me a number. Rachel.
Is it 85%?
Yeah, it's in the 80 to 85%. The technique I'm going to teach you tonight, flip that upside down. If you're in Silicon Valley, they won't invest with you unless you've done the technique I'm going to share with you tonight. So a full, it's got to be 20, 30, 40 years after I learned to business plan with Pat Fleming, my mentor in out West Canada, I learned Lean Startup. I'm going to share Lean Startup with you, and I'm going to tell you what I believe the key is to you getting your clients. And it is not Facebook, it is not Instagram, it is not TikTok, and it is not LinkedIn, but it may be. It may be bus backs, but it might not. And until you understand this, you will blow your brains out on social media consultants, Google ads, Facebook ads, TikTok ads, LinkedIn ads, hiring consultants, firing consultants. All right. And if you hire a good one, they'll make you do this, maybe in their own words, maybe in similar words to I'm sharing with you. You can take a course in this for very reasonable money in Udemy or Udemy, however you pronounce that. They have courses in this, all right? They have courses in this. So there's some new people to the Abundant Coach. The Abundant Coach exists so we can talk about how to build our abilities, how we can get better results, and how we can get referrals. When we're extraordinary at what we do and we get great results that are demonstrable and replicable, we get referrals. When we get referrals and we're great at what we do and we get results, we get more referrals. And builds on builds on builds, right? So abundance in the Abundance Coach is based on our formula AR squared, which is your ability times the results you're getting times referrals. But you still need your first clients. You can't get a referral if you don't have a client, can you? Right? No, you can't. Trust me. So before I go there, there is a website that I think is worth you looking at. If I didn't throw it out already, I'll have to get it for you again. It's gone. Darn. Bear with me one sec. The website is called Lean, Lean stack.com, leanstack.com. I highly recommend you go onto leanstock.com and look at their manifesto. I'm going to share a highlight of their manifesto, and I'm going to share with you how their manifesto and how the Abundant Coach manifesto overlay each other. Now, the founder of Lean Stack is a very interesting young man named Ash Maurya, Mauraya. You know, all of you listen. I know all of you listen to podcasts. I know all of you guys surf. None of us can stop surfing. If you're going to surf and listen to some stuff, listen to Ash Maurya. He's young. He'll teach you more about making businesses work in 2 one-hour podcasts than you could get doing an MBA. So here's the thing. We all have to acquire clients. We have client acquisition, and there's a cost associated with time and money. Time and money. Make a note of that. To acquire clients takes time and money. And I've talked to most of you in here at various times, and we're all spending time and money right here trying to acquire more clients. Once you acquire a client in their manifesto, then you're in the activation of the client. The activation is doing something for the client, making the client happy. In my world, the activation includes my ability and my results, making the client happy, right? Then you want to retain the client. A good coach will have 3 to 5 products that they can sell the client once they're in their universe. Now, this probably goes against the grain with Lynn, but you know, coaches, we normally create a cascade or a group of products that we can sell, right? So that retains. What do we mean by retention? The client finishes one activity with you, and they come back and do a second, or they come back and do the third. Certainly in our world, most of our people who we've trained in NLP came to us because they were clients. So they come in to be coached, then they want to learn NLP, then they want to learn PACE, and then they want to learn Master Prac. So we have retention. Some of them want to be coached for a year. We have retention. So we have 4 or 5 ways to retain a client. Well, that's cool. I don't have to attract as many clients here if I retain them for 5 rotations. And not that I just want into the bottom of everybody's bank account, but that client's going to go somewhere to buy that service anyways. If I just coached and I didn't train, they're going to find a different training school and go learn NLP from, Billy down the street. Billy sucks. We're good. So I don't want them leaving. And then if they really have talent and they want them to coach, I want them to learn PACE. I don't want them to fail. You see what I mean? So retention. Then these clients who are activated, even if you're a one-trick pony, meaning you only have one service to sell, if you do an extraordinary job, they're going to give you referrals. Right? And activation plus retention plus referrals is financial abundance. So Ash Mariah's lean stack model corresponds and overlays directly with inspired outcomes thinking on the abundant coach. And all of that is worth 50 cents, maybe $1. If you don't know who that person is you want to acquire. This means nothing unless you know who that person is. I'll say it again. And I've talked to all of you here. I think all of you, most of you. And I've talked to way more people in various courses, right? And I call it their avatar, right? Who's your avatar? Who's your person? And if you can't say it, you will never, ever, ever find them. I'm a pilot, right? I get in the airplane. I need to know where I'm going. Get in an airplane, don't know where you're going. What are you going to do? You're going to run out of gas somewhere. Good luck with that, right? What if you got into the transportation business and you just said, I want to sell transportation. Cool. What do you mean by that? Why don't you narrow it down? What kind of transportation? Are you selling running shoes? Are you selling Nikes? Are you selling bicycles? Are you selling mopeds? Are you selling Boeing 747s, Boeing 777s? Are you selling freight liners, right, on the ocean? Are you selling Greyhound buses? You're in transportation. What are you selling? Jetpacks? Boats? If you wanted to buy a boat, would you just go out and Google transportation? No. And when I talk to coaches, they won't narrow down who they want to coach to. Here's the other thing. You want to know the other thing that's really crazy, right? I talked to a lot of you guys, and everybody's afraid of getting too narrow. Who are the lowest paid doctors in the world? General practitioners, family doctors. Who are the highest paid doctors in the world? Specialists. Caroline's on here. She's in Sudbury. I know a cardiologist who puts over $1 million worth of revenue in Sudbury through his practice. GPs refer him. The GPs are making $200 a year, and the cardiologist is reading their scans and producing over $1 million a year. I don't know. It's not all about money, but the cardiologist is saving lives. He's just chosen to focus on something. He knows who his clients are, right? He doesn't read the scan of somebody with diabetes. He doesn't read the scan of somebody with, I don't know, toenails. He reads the scan of people with cardiac problems. $1 million. Oh, and the money is just a reflection of the value the system thinks he's delivering, right? It's just a form of energy. And I don't know about you guys. I just don't know. I don't know if I go to a person who's a practitioner of anything who couldn't tell me what they're practicing. Now, you could say I'm an NLP coach, but the realm of what you can coach in, my friend William Lamb, who's an NLP trainer and coaches other people, makes 6 times easily more money a year than I do. But William Lamb sends me his trauma clients. He does not attempt to heal their trauma. He doesn't know how successfully. Do you hear that? He is one of the most gifted NLP trainers I've ever had the pleasure of working with. Teaching NLP Prac, gifted. NLP Master Prac, gifted. He will not work with a person who's traumatized. He understands the complexity of it. He sends them to who? Specialist. And when I have a business client who happens to want to invest in real estate and rock the world, where do I send them to? William Lamb. I don't go, holy, I can't even swear. Larissa's really cramping my style here. I don't say, holy heck, that client was going to pay William, this bag of money. I'm going to do it. I'm an NLP trainer too. I don't even know the first words that they use in the lexicon of real estate investment. And William does not know the language of trauma. We're both NLP trainers. We're both really good at NLP training. But when it comes to doing our craft, he works with real estate investors and I work with traumatized people, right? He's really busy. I'm really busy. Ooh, there should be a message in there. Cool. So I put a thing in the chat room. So if you haven't seen it already, there's a PDF in the chat room. I really encourage you to get it. This is a game changer. This is a game changer. This is called the lean canvas. This turned upside down business failure in Silicon Valley on its head. Normally, entrepreneurs sit in their underwear at home, thinking up really friggin' cool business ideas, taking their life savings to start the business, sometimes their kids' future money to save the business, their education funds. They pour it all in the business only to have it fail. 80 to 85% of the time. They may even borrow money, mortgage their house. And all over North America tonight, and we have some people from Australia here, all over the globe tonight, there's people sitting in their underwear coming up with brilliant business ideas that they're going to spend all their dough getting started. I remember the one I did in that year, I did 38 business plans. Think about it. It's commonplace now to see lawn furniture made out of plastic tubing and aluminum tubing and all this tubing. In 1984, there was only those, they look like seatbelt straps on aluminum tubing, and they always broke. You had them about 2 years, they break. So this guy was using white PVC plumbing tubing with joints that you could buy at any hardware store, going to glue it together, put a beautiful canvas on, beautiful, beautiful. And when we did the business plan, when he actually got the real numbers on how many dollars were in each one of those chairs and what kind of facility he would need and what kind of input he would need to meet the output he'd need, he walked away from his business. But when we met him, he was all gung-ho because he thought he could make the chair for $48. Not a chance. He wasn't even close, right? That's what happens when you do your business plan in your underwear at home and you haven't touched the real market. And here's what Lean Canvas does. Lean Canvas touches the real market. And the first step in Lean Canvas is customer. top right-hand corner of that PDF I gave you guys, list your target end users, your target end users. I'm going to give you my target because I know it, so I'm going to use me as an example all the way through. Hell, and if you want to get in the trauma business, you just steal it. It's already done for you, right? So it asks you to list up to 3 types of clients. Who are your clients? Now, you guys think you're sitting there, you're all smart, right? You think, oh, Alan's going to do military, police, firefighters, and maybe civilians. Those are my clients? No. No. My clients are clients who are insured, and the insurance will pay for them. My other clients are, because they're all traumas, by the way. My clients all have trauma. I don't work with anybody who does not test positive for post-traumatic stress. Right? You got that part, right? All of my clients have PTS, period, full stop. And then there's 3 segments. This is customer segment. 1 is they're insured. 2 is they're partially insured. And 3, they don't have the money. Those are my 3 segments. This is so cool. When I had this revelation, that changed everything. So my market segments aren't firemen and police and EMS and birth traumas and car accident traumas. So it's not my market segments. All of those people come in, they're all going to test positive for post-traumatic stress. So they're all my clients. And now I want to know whether they're insured, partially insured, or they have to pay, or they have no money. Right? Can they pay? Cool. That's number 1. Then you jump to the far side of the page to do number 2. What are their top 3 problems? Top problem is can't work because they have PTSD. Top problem, cannot work. Cannot work, right? Second problem is they're dissociating from everything. They're leaving their families, they're leaving society, they're leaving everywhere. And their third problem is they have physical manifestations of the trauma, like chronic pain, fibromyalgia, hair loss. Okay? Cool. When you know your customer segments, Lean Startup says you have to go talk to 30 of them to determine what their problems are. Traditional business planning, the person in their underwear, in their bedroom, writing their business plan would guess at what the 3 problems were, and they would be wrong. Lean Startup says you have to talk to 30 people to make sure they have this problem. So all you coaches who don't know who your customers and don't know what, and this, by the way, is a real world problem. At business school, they now teach if you're not solving a real world business, a problem, you're not in business. You must solve a real world problem. All right, so now we've interviewed 30 people about what their problem is. All right, now we got these problems. Now, most of you would like to tell them how good you are and how great you are and what you can do for them, right? No, wrong. Now you go home and you say, okay, I need to come up with a solution for these 3 problems because you didn't know what they were before. Right. Now here, when you look at these 3 problems, you want to know how these segments get these problems solved now. How are these problems being solved or addressed now? That's market intelligence. So when you're interviewing these 30 people and asking them what 3 problems you have, then you ask them, how are these problems being solved in the marketplace now? Right. Then you go home and you come up with your solution to their problem. And if you say NLP, I'll rip you. You might use NLP. I'll be glad to. You might use timeline therapy. You might use hypnosis. Any of you guys who've worked with me, I have a protocol. It's 12 hours, 5 2-hour sessions, a 4-week break, a check-in, a 4-week break, a check-in. That's my solution. Even though the trauma clearing is a 15-minute exercise, I can clear a trauma in 15 minutes. And the person will not be traumatized by that anymore. That's not the solution. Because I have to, in my world, I have to lay down the conditions for success. I have to lay down the conditions for the success. I do that with the assessment, the first 2 hours, and then clearing up adverse childhood experiences, the second 2 hours. Then I only go into the third 2-hour session to do the trauma. And once I've done that work, I feel it's incumbent on me to help this person create a new narrative about themselves. Because when I met them, their narrative is, I'm broke, I'm traumatized, I'm worthless. Now, when we've set the conditions for success, we've healed the adverse childhood experiences, we've healed the trauma, their narrative doesn't work. They're not broken, they're not traumatized, they're not worthless, but they don't know who they are. So in step 4, we work at rewiring the positive of their life. And in step 5, we take all that out and plan their future. And then and only then we part company. So the solution for me is I call my trauma team, the trauma team, so T3, T3P. That's my solution, T3P. 12 hours when I wield the lightsaber, 14 when the new people do. 12 hours when they've got 10 clients under their belt. So now we've got T3P, which is a 12-hour protocol that has a 92% success rate in research. Evidence-based because we use external evaluators, pre and post. We use external people to judge the degree of the trauma pre and post. That's my solution, right? Cool. Lean startup would say you go back to your 30 people and say, if you could have your trauma healed in 12 hours of therapy at a greater than 92% success rate with no recurrence out a year, is that something that you might be interested in? If everybody says, where's the camera? Yeah, good. Then you go to step 4. If they don't, you have to pivot. You have to go back and get a new solution. Then go back to the 30. So you see where this is going? You already know who your client is. You already know their real problem. You already know they're amenable to your solution, that they like your solution. How many people here, be honest, put up your hands. How many of you guys have created a product, you didn't really know who the client was, and you didn't know if the client would take it or not, but you started fucking advertising it? Come on, be honest. All of you have done it, right? It's a thing we do. Oh, I got a great solution for this. You start advertising it, thinking the world should come knocking down your door, build a better mousetrap. You got to ask the people with the problem, would that solution work for you? Okay, they say, yeah. Then you go to 4. 4 is your unique value proposition. This is a sign that something's printed too small or I'm too old, but here we go. A single, clear, compelling message that states why you're different and worth paying attention. So this is also the unique value here is that the trauma ends, they sleep through the night, it's drug-free, non-traumatizing, and it's done in 3 weeks. They'll be trauma-free in less than 3 weeks. And it costs X, whatever X is. That's the unique value. That must also resonate with those 30 clients. We keep coming back. Think about where we're going here. Your 30 clients have all agreed that this is a good thing. Most of you who have created products haven't tested it on 2 people. You might have talked to your spouse across the dinner table and they went, yeah, that's really good, honey. They did the Michael, they did the Michael J. Fox. I love how you do. Yeah, that's really good, honey. Right? Now you've tested it. Real world problems with real world customers who love your solution and who like your unique value proposition. Who like your unique value proposition. And at the bottom, it says a high level concept. If you could be 100% free of your PTSD in 3 weeks, is that something you'd be interested in? Right? See, Rachel was a non-believer. That's what's really fun here. I've got a non-believer on here, right? Rachel's a believer now. But, it's hard to fathom, right? When you first hear that you can be trauma-free, that you can actually talk about what traumatized you without getting emotional, without a year or 2 or 3 or 4 of therapy, that you can live guilt and shame-free once you clear the trauma. It's hard to believe. Cool. The value proposition is also a dollar proposition. Is that client who has these problems, who likes this solution, think that's an okay price? So in my world, I've got clients who've been to an institution where I live that'll remain nameless, the Homewood, and they've been in that nameless Homewood facility for 8 weeks, and at that nameless Homewood facility, it cost them $40,000 for 8 weeks. And I have not interviewed a single police officer, firefighter, or military person came out of that program PTSD free. So for me, my unique value proposition is I quit looking at the cost of the treatment. Hear me out, guys. I quit talking about the cost of the protocol. I started talking about the cost per success. I talk about the cost per success. So if you go into an 8-week program for $40,000, and I generously gave them a 20% success rate. So if you put 10 people through there, 2 will be successful. It'll cost $400,000 to treat 10 people. 2 will be successful. So the cost per success is $200,000, $400,000 divided by 2. If I treat 10 people, 9 will be successful, and it costs $30,000. So my cost per success is $3,333. So if I'm selling to insured people, insurance companies are, well, you can pay me now or pay me later. You can send people to that place that'll remain nameless, the Homewood, where the cost per success is $200,000, or you can send them to me where the cost per success is $3,000. And then I say, but let's add in the lost time off work. Because the Homewood, it's nameless, is 8 weeks. So they're off work for 8 weeks. They're in an institution. They come to me, they can go to work every day. So 15, the average fireman, police officer makes somewhere around $7,500, $8,000 a month. 2 months in the Homewood is $16,000 in wages. Add that times 10, 160. 2 successes, 80. Now we're at $280,000 per success. Nobody has to take time off work to come work at do NLP with me. Stay at work. We'll clear the trauma on the 3rd session in the 2nd week, right? They'll be free of their trauma on the 2nd week. Now let's compare. I'm telling you how to do a unique value proposition. Compared to cognitive behavioral therapy, my cost is about the same as a year of cognitive behavioral therapy, give or take. But cognitive behavioral therapy would be a year of therapy with 40% success with 80% recurrence. But I'm generous. I don't subtract the 80% recurrence. I just say they're 40% successful. Put 10 people through their program, 30 grand. 4 people will be successful, $7,500. But most of them will be off work on short-term disability. If they have post-traumatic stress, the way we deal with it, the clients we deal with, they'll be off work for 6 months. So 6 months times 8,000 is 48,000 times 10 is 480, and 4 are successful. So it's 120,000. So we're at $120,000 for CBT per success, and I'm at 3,300 cost per success. That's a pretty unique value proposition, isn't it? Hard to resist. All right. Number five are channels. How are you going to get to these people? How are you going to get to these people? Where are they? Right? And that's where you can be as creative as you want. You're going to speak, you're going to blog, you're going to podcast, you're going to well, no, but you got to think about it, right? These clients here, the ones that are insured, are all professionals. They don't go on Facebook looking for trauma solutions. I know this. I've run ads and campaigns in both. I ran a Facebook campaign that generated 15 to 30 leads with severely traumatized human beings. The Facebook ads generated 15 to 30 leads a week, and it was only focused on the community where I live. 138,000 people. 15 to 30 leads a week. What if I turn that weapon on Toronto? 4.5 million people. I'd need all of you guys that have to come to work with me and answer the phones, plus another whole room full of you. Couldn't handle it. However, the people on Facebook that responded to that ad, guess what? They did not have the money. And the healthcare system does not provide for mental health. So where do professionals look when they need help? They Google it. So if I'm going to find these people, the channel to them is not Facebook. If I want to get to these people, it's Facebook. And these people don't listen to my podcast, and these people do not, right? So the channel has to meet all of that. Bum, bum. Having fun yet? Are we having fun yet? I need to know.
Yes, lots of fun.
Cool. My friend Rachel in New York. That's officially your name, Rachel.
All right.
You just dropped Kent from your name now, just Rachel in New York.
Sounds good.
For those of you, we did a PACE course this weekend, and everybody on the PACE course gave up number 7. It doesn't exist now anymore. When they're counting, they go 1, 2, 3, or number 6, they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Rachel in New York, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've replaced the number 6 with Rachel in New York. All right, your channel. So everybody gets this, right? We know who our clients are because we talk to 30. We know what their problems are because we talk to 30 and they're consistent. We came back to them. We gave them a solution. All 30 or 27 or 28 or 29 of them liked. If they didn't, we have to build a new solution, go back and test it. We give them a unique value proposition. Get back your life in 3 weeks, 92% success rate. Now I need to know how to find those people. That's the channels, right? If you don't know who your client is and you're spending money on Facebook ads, inshallah, God's will. You might get them, you might not. But if you know where they are, way better chance. And LinkedIn ads are a different group of people again, right? You're going to get a different group of people again. Cool. Now we're going to do, now you get to the point where everybody should be talking about, this is the revenue streams. Every prac PACE coach can charge $2,500 per breakthrough, right? A breakthrough takes 12 to 14, call it 15 hours if you're starting out. 15 hours, takes 15 hours. If you do 6 a month, that's 90 hours. Leaves you 70 hours to do marketing and bookkeeping. So you can do 6 a month times 2,500, you're making 15K a month. Only work 10 months of the year. because you need to continue your education and recreate yourself. So you make 150 grand a year. Do you know how many coaches actually make 150 grand a year? If you stat and Tad James and watch or Matt James, the hundreds of people in the back of that room, right? And how many people actually go out and make 150K a year? Tara and I both did it, all right? Both Tara and I did it, not collectively, individually. So that's
Alan, how many clients did you start out with at the beginning of using PACE?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Put it in a balloon. And then your cost model, when you know who your people are and what they'll pay, right? And you know, my clients is there any limit to how many clients I have in my trauma world? Right? I love when people start thinking scarcity, right? There's literally a fixed number of houses in North America, is there not? And then they're building some extra ones every year. Why would anybody get into refrigeration sales? Why would anybody sell fridges and stoves? Everybody already owns one. And yet every department store, Home Depot, Walmart, everybody has fridges and stoves because they break, they wear out, they need more of them, right? You pick your avatar. I don't care if you pick female tennis stars between 14 and 16, unlimited marketplace. You'll never run out of clients. You take, and by the way, when you start talking about people like that, their parents write checks that just don't stop. That number ain't $2,500. Just say 10. All right. People who have their kids in figure skating lessons, and you're going to do performance coaching for them, just charge them what you want. All right. Hey, and if they're into equestrian, you need to be more expensive than the friggin' horse, okay? If you go in there and you charge less than the horse cost, you're the horse's backside. You got to get your stuff together here in your market, all right? Then you have to have a cost structure. I know a lot of people work from their home. You guys know I don't. When I saw that, I went and got an office because I thought when people come in to see a trauma specialist, I don't think they want to come, you know, I live in a 2,000 square foot home. I don't think they want to come to my home. I just don't. Where I have 3 kids, a dog, 3 cats, 2 rabbits, 9 fish. Nah, probably not a good place to coach trauma clients. They'll be traumatized by the menagerie. Now, where do you want to work from? So then your cost structure. What percentage are you going to spend on advertising or client acquisition? Overheads like my office, right? What are you going to spend? How are you going to cost that out? And it all comes out of that. COVID's been kind of cool, right? Because on one level, it's just made it really legitimate to coach from a room. All you need is a room and a camera. You coach and put a fake drop, right? Coach from a room, and you want to look really professional. You just have fun, right? This is, I mean, get clients online, and now I'm the trauma guy, right? Bam. God bless COVID. I wouldn't have done all of these. Got one for every course. If you don't invest in the immediate way, which way do I go here? That way, you know, you can do whatever you want. So you can look professional almost anywhere. So your cost structure, you know, you have liability insurance, you have materials. We spend a lot on materials, right? We put together that's my trauma team protocol. You know, I say a lot. That is a $2 worth of paper and folder, but you know, when you do 100 clients a year, it's still $200. Some people don't. They have notepads. I don't think it's appropriate. What other things in your cost structure? Oh, your ongoing education. You should be spending somewhere between a lot and a shit ton of money on your education every year. There's a couple ways to get NLP mastery. The first step is to get a methodology. I really don't care if you do PACE or not. I'd love you to do PACE. I live and breathe by PACE. I swear by PACE. I can scientifically, neurologically, psychologically justify every step in PACE. But if you choose to do whatever you choose to do, do it. If you take PACE and you morph it into your own thing and it works better for you, perfect. But to get mastery, you have to be face-to-face, nose-to-nose, belly-to-belly with your clients. That's where mastery comes, right? Nothing better than watching a guy who's trained in martial arts but never been hit and never hit anybody get in their first fight. It's tragic for them, right? Because when you're in the dojo, things happen it's a dance, it's choreographed. And you get a black belt, you go out on the street. Nobody told the guy you're about to fight or the woman you're about to fight that, there's a dance we've got to do here. And when they don't do what you want them to do, right? So you got to get nose to nose, belly to belly with your clients. I mean, you have the very best tools in neuroscience in your hands, NLP, for creating anything, change with anything that's been learned. NLP, that's its sweet spot. And I believe psychosomatically that, a huge chunk, I've got my naturopathic friend Tanya on here tonight, Caroline's ER, ICU nurse, Tara's here as well. Another 90% of pain is emotionally driven, right? You heal the physical part and they're still in pain, right? So you got to get nose to nose, belly to belly, and you got to help them through this stuff. And that's where you get mastery from. The other way to get mastery is once you've got 20 or 30 or 50 clients under your belt, then go study with new people, right? I studied with Marilyn Atkinson. She was a disciple of Milton Erickson, actually trained with Milton in the desert, right? I trained with Tad James. I've trained with Kim Redman, where Larissa's still on. Kim Redman is like NLP meets the Third Reich, right? She teaches it from the front of the room. When she tells you fast, 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 she stomps her feet. When she says there's no K in evidence, she stomps her feet 3 times. If she says there's no K in what, and if you don't respond, it's the whip. You get the carrot or the stick early in the training. I've trained with her. I've trained with Connie Ray Andreas, Mark Andreas. Tara continues to train with people every quarter. Yeah, you must invest. I'm telling you this here as part of your structure, right? And it's part of NLP, the law of requisite variety. The person with the most behavioral flexibility will control the system. The person with the most behavioral flexibility, you gain behavioral flexibility by learning more, right? By learning more, by being challenged and challenging. All right, here we go. Key metrics. We run evidence-based practice. I run an evidence-based practice. All my trauma clients score trauma-free when we're done. I will not stop. As long as they'll keep coming to the office, I will not stop until they're PTS-free. All right? That's metric number 1. They have to have trauma for me to work with. They must leave trauma-free. Metric number 1. Metric number 2, how many do I need to see a month? Right? Now, cool, when Sam worked with me, I walked in her office one day and she had a number up on one of the screens that we use. I said, what's that? So I've just intuitively had my eye on this number. When that number is above a certain dollar value, we're all golden all the time. She had created a key metric for herself. And it was the throughput number between the Kajabi checkout and the Stripe account. And she knew if that number was a certain number or higher, we are on fire, right? A key metric. You need to come up with key metrics for your business. How will you know that you are doing okay? How will you know that you're doing okay? How many people do you need to talk to, discovery calls a week, to sign up a person? That's a key metric. So if you need to talk to 10 to sign up one, right? That's a key metric. I need 10 discovery calls every week. But I'm saying you need 1.5 new clients a week. So you need to talk to 15. If your close rate is 10% and you want 1.5 clients a week, you have to talk to 15 people. This is the simple part. And if 100 people click on your ad to give you 10 discovery calls, you need 150 clicks. So you're backing up the engineering. And you don't need key metrics all over the map. You need 6 to 10 key metrics. Ranjit's here from Vancouver. I'm trying to find the time. It's escaping my brain. This is fun. Mid-90s, I get hired by the Insurance Corporation of BC, $3 billion a year corporation. And they asked me to create a key performance indicator document for the Insurance Corporation of BC. They gave me an actuarial guide, brilliant. If you have ever had the pleasure of working with an actuary, they're geniuses. We locked ourselves in a 12 by 12 room, and 30 days later, we had 12 key performance indicators, 12 to run $1 billion a year company. If those 12 were in the zone, the company was safe all the time. Behind each of those 12 were 5 sub key performance indicators. And then below that was all the data that came from the corporation. So if we can keep the pulse of a $3 billion a year corporation with 12, I think you can keep your coaching practice online with less than 10 key performance indicators when you understand what's really, really important to you, right? Client success is the one I measure all the time. It's the first of my key performance. If I'm not successful with the clients, if I'm not getting results, the whole model falls apart. If you're working with Ash Mariah, if you're not getting results, the whole model falls apart. If you're not getting results, so the number one thing you have to measure is results. Right? Everybody good with that? And every award in business talks about starts from the Deming Awards, and the Deming was the guy who helped reconstruct Japan, and he created the saying, "What gets measured gets done." Right? What gets measured gets done. So if your focus is on your client's results, if you're not getting results with your client, who owns it? Right there. I need to look at my ability. I need to phone somebody. I need to pick up the phone and phone one of my coaching friends and say, okay, I just pooched another one. You need to intervene here. I've just gone down the rabbit hole the wrong way. I just went down the skunk hole, right? If you're not getting results, you have to adjust. You have to phone and say, look, Alan, I just did that protocol. I didn't get the results. Help. And we'll tweak it so you get it the next one. Clients' results are the number one. And if you call me and you're not measuring it using evidence or the activity cards or something tangible, I can't help you. They said they were better is not measuring. Ash's MAU, RAYA, Moriah. If you put in Ash and lean canvas, he'll come up, or lean stack. All right, I can't stress enough about the key metrics, right? And when you know your client, you know their problem, measuring their change is pretty good. One of my friends, Alan Jensen in Utah, is an amazing NLP master trainer. Amazing. He doesn't do trauma. What he does is he helps people who are already making over 100 grand a year double their income in 1 year. He does a 6-hour emotional breakthrough with them to clear out their baggage. Then he coaches them for 90 minutes every 3 weeks, 16 sessions in a year times an hour and a half, 24 hours plus 6-hour breakthrough, 30 hours. Everybody's sitting down, so I'm going to tell you this. Alan Jensen charges $1,495 US per hour. $45,000 in coaching in a year. His key metric is, what is his key metric? The people double their income when they work with him for a year. That's his key metric. If they don't double their income, he's a failure. And he's obsessed and driven to help people do that. And he's very successful. The rest of his metrics are easy to do, right? Now I'll tell you, he discounts the hell out of it. He doesn't charge people $45,000 if they sign up. I forget what the number is. It's like $2,000 a month, but he always has 15 to 20 clients on the go at $2,000 a month. Do the math. And he's seeing them for an hour and a half every 90 days. Create the model of the world you want. Know who your clients are, right? William Lamb, real estate investor. Alan Kanerba doing trauma. Alan Jensen doing high income earners. Pick the place you want to work. My wife, when she started, was focused on women with birth trauma. That's it. She talked to doulas. Her channels were doulas and midwives. That's all. The only people she talked to were doulas and midwives. She knew her customers. She knew the problems. She was one. Oh, and that's the other thing. In our world, we say your message, your message. If I tried coaching in real estate, I'd be a fraud. But when I'm coaching in trauma, I've been there. I've done that. I've got a t-shirt, right? I'm the guy who had 3 to 4 nightmares a week. Never knew I was traumatized then, though. Soaking wet, sweating, often in motion, often putting my first wife at risk. Yeah, cost me a wife, cost me a family. So when I talk about trauma, my mess is my message. I know that client. I know can't work. I know dissociation. I'm fortunate. I never had any physical pain. Well, I jumped out of a bunk bed one night in the middle of a nightmare and landed on a cabinet. That was a bit painful. Like a lot. All right. Now here's the fun thing. Your unfair advantage. Who are the kinesthetics in the room? Who are the mostly K people here? Put up your hand. Who are the Ks? Let's see the Ks. Okay, you guys got to get over yourself right here, right? This is a competition. You have to get unfair advantage and use it against your competitors. All right, I'm sorry. You want clients coming in the door. I told you there's lots of clients, but you've got an unfair advantage. You do NLP. I'm going to defy you if it's a learned problem. If the person learned the thing that's holding them back, nothing in psychotherapy will fix it faster than NLP. I defy you all. Bring them. And I say that confidently. One of my mentors, Frank Bork, trained at the London School of Psychiatry. He was a professor of psychology at Cornell. He trained with Bandler and Grinder. And he said and says, NLP is the greatest breakthrough in psychology in the last 100 years. Frank actually had the privilege of training with B.F. Skinner. All right. It's not a lightweight. Fulbright scholar for the Americans in the room. It's not a lightweight. Part of the reason why the psychology community doesn't embrace it, I believe, is it's too simple. You know, a butthead like me can learn it and end people's trauma in 12 hours. How long did you go to school for, Lynn? 3 years, 4 years, 5?
I think 4 years for undergrad and then 3 more and then some for a doctorate, which I didn't finish the thesis, so a lot, but I love NLP.
There you go. You just heard it first right there. I'll tell one quick story. Tara was on her master prac, and there was this young Asian guy, just spent a decade at school, had a PhD in psychology. And about day eight on his master prac, right, where I think probably day 10, you do your breakthrough in master prac about day 9. And he breaks down crying. He's in the room, he's crying. They must have done the compulsion blowout or the drop down through, but one of the hammer techniques. And Adriana said, "Why you're crying?" He said, "I just spent hundreds of $1,000s and a decade at school, and nobody taught me how to end that in that motion." And Lynn, you know Carrie, right? You know Carrie.
Yeah.
Russell?
Yeah.
Carrie came up here to do master prac, and we were doing belief change, or a prac, and we were doing belief change. And she takes her binder. Carrie's not very big; she might be 100 pounds. So she slams it into the floor. And Tara and I are sitting in the front of the room. There's all these people around her. "Carrie, what's going on?" And she was the same way. Undergrad, grad school, 25 years of psychotherapy, and nobody taught me how to change a belief.
Yeah, I've seen when it's done with school shootings and stuff like that. I mean, amazing.
Yeah. So there you go. You guys have an unfair advantage. If you're a coach and you're doing NLP and timeline therapy, and you have the gift of knowing hypnosis, how to get beyond the reticular activating system where all the issues, you can move people from A to Z or Z for my American friends faster than anybody else in the room. What you need is the ovaries, if you're that gender, or the balls to stand up and take the hit. And I'm saying that honestly because I take hits from everybody when I clear trauma. Get a load of this. There's a doctor of psychology who's now the commander of mental health for the Ontario Police Association. She also runs the Trauma Growth Center in Toronto. So it tells you, where you go there for 6 or 8 months to learn how to grow from your trauma. Her name's Dr. Vivian Lee. And when the president of the Ontario Police Association took my proposal to her, you know what she said? "There's not enough evidence." Like this. I'll do it this end. There's not enough evidence. We need to keep doing CBT, EMDR, and PE. Prolonged exposure. She's an advocate for prolonged exposure. Okay, so I take hits all the time, guys. The institution that's nameless, the Homewood, actually sent the person twice to my facility to tell me to shut up. You'll love this, Mateo. Twice. Not once, twice. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. You have an unfair advantage, guys. You just need to know who to use it on. Caroline, you could just work with stressed out nurses the rest of your days, right? They'd be lined up out your door.
I've honestly thought about switching to that. I'm not even going to lie.
Well, you know what? And think about the benefit you'd be doing for the patient in the hospital. When Nurse Cratchit is no longer Nurse Cratchit, she's Nurse Sweetness and Light, right? Because she's not caring. One of my clients this spring had a really horrific event happen. She's an ER nurse, OR nurse, not ER nurse, OR nurse. And she left work and she sent me a text that I'm destroying everything and everybody in my life. This is a woman with 27 years experience. She can handle stuff that other people can't. And we were going to lose her from the healthcare system. That's not okay, right? It's not okay to lose those people. Right? It's not okay. Just looking around at the other people in the room, right? The other people that I know. My naturopathic friends are using NLP subtly and covertly, overtly, and inside practices. I've got a friend who's a trainer of NLP. He runs 11 dental offices. He's a dentist. He moved his production per hour, key metric when you're a dentist. He has the highest production per hour of any dentist in Ontario because he's using hypnotic language to calm his clients. There's less resistance, less drugs needed, able to do the same treatments easier with less pain emotional pain for his clients. That's my kind of NLP guy. That's my kind of guy. All right. What do we have left? Nothing. That's so cool. This is a lean canvas. When you're in the elevator and somebody asks what you do, guess where your elevator pitch comes from? Right there. And if you're a person who's going to be able to build a big company, you're going to be that 7-digit coach, 8-digit coach. You write your business plan from this. Every one of these is a page. It's a 9-page business plan plus pro forma financials. Now you present it. Oh, then when you do your PowerPoint deck, guess how many slides there are? 9. And if you guys want to see that in action, anybody that's interested, email me. I'll send you a canvas. Mateo, you'll like this one. You send me your email. I'll email it to you. A canvas, a business plan, and a PowerPoint deck for a product called Certus. It was a smart card for employers to use that had the person's history, their work history, their safety training, their medical records, everything on a smart card that you scanned. You put your biometrics and your passwords, the highest security you can have. Had I been successful at that company, it would be the new COVID passport right now. God bless, I wasn't successful. But I did that all off that. 9 points here, 9 slides in your slide deck, 9 pages in your business plan plus pro formas. The key, guys, the key is right there. Who are your customers? Who are your customers? So this is a spoiler alert. You call me and I say, you're not getting your clients. I'm going to say, who's your customer? Have you talked to 30? What are their 3 problems? Cool. And then we can talk about everything else. If you don't know who your customer is, if you haven't talked to them and you don't know what their 3 key problems is, I cannot help you. And by cannot, I mean will not. There's a difference, but cool. All right, I'm out.